Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Goodfellas. So this is a donation reward for Venom0027, and I believe, if I am not mistaken, this is the movie where Joe Pesci's character gives that really famous line about, like, are you laughing at me? Do I look like a clown? Or I don't remember exactly how it goes, but I believe it's that movie. I think Ray Liotta's in this film as well, but I'm not 100%. Either way, either way. Um, Goodfellas, I know, is about the mob or mafia or whatever. Other than that, I don't really know like what it's about, like plot wise or anything. It's almost 2.5 hours long, but I assume that's including credits. To be fair, um, and yeah, I don't know fully what to expect from this. I've heard this movie is very good, and that doesn't tell me much. It's just telling me that people like it, which, as I've stated in the past, doesn't necessarily mean I'll like it. Um, because everybody's views on things are different, and so it's like there's been a lot of things that people have loved that I haven't. Um, but I'm hoping to like it. I'm hoping to like it. I've liked a lot of things in this kind of general ballpark before, so it's not out of the question. We're just gonna kind of have to see. Um, Now I've also heard that this movie has some comedic stuff in it. I don't know like how much. Like, is this movie like what kind of genre would this movie be considered? Would it be like a straight drama? Would it be more like a dramedy? Would it be a thriller in any way? I don't know, because I don't really know much of what it's about. Um, but I'm interested to find that out as well. And again, just going on things that I've heard about it throughout the years. I also don't know when this came out. I don't know if it was like before or after like My Cousin Vinny or anything. I just don't know. But yeah, this film was requested by Venom alongside My Cousin Vinny, so kind of a theme going on there. Just getting to this one now, just because I'm trying to separate things out a little bit more. um, we've been doing like one movie a week for a while now, pretty much. So just kind of going with the flow on that. Um, excuse me. But yeah, it's like kind of going with this theme of Joe Pesci films with them. Yeah, like I said, I am excited because this is another movie like My Cousin Vinny that I've just kind of always wanted to see. I've always wanted to check it out and see like what the film was really about. Because again, I've only seen like maybe that one clip, if that truly was from this movie, which I think it is. So I'm interested to see like what the context behind that clip is, what the information excuse me, that leads to that would be, all that jazz. Um, but we're just gonna get on with this. We're gonna get on with this, partially because I don't know what else to say, and partially because I just want to check out the movie. So let us do so. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so this movie was entertaining, to say the least. It was fun to watch. It was interesting. I enjoyed the acting performances of pretty much everyone. They did a fantastic job, but especially obviously the main characters. I mean, Ray Liotta definitely was a star in this film. But like Joe Pesci was fantastic. Um, Robert De Niro was great in this for sure. Um, the actor who played Paulie was great. Um, the film was shot well, acted well, directed well, all of that jazz. But it was way too fucking long. Seriously, the movie was way too fucking long, and I get there was a lot that they wanted to tell, especially since this was based off of a true story and all. But at the same time, there was some stuff they really didn't need to tell, and some stuff that felt like it's just like, okay, like where is this going? Oh, it's not really going much of anywhere. And on top of that, it's just like the movie overall just felt like it was just bouncing around all over the place. It was too much sometimes. And that's why I wasn't talking a lot of the time. And I apologize for a lot of the silence during this reaction. I was trying, there wasn't really much to talk about, like actively react to. Most of the time it was very much like everything was constantly bouncing around, things were constantly happening. So it's like I didn't get a chance to really breathe, to really take a moment and react. um and when something even when things notable happened, it's like there's not much to say regarding the events. And again, that's not saying they were bad. I did enjoy this film. It's just this wasn't a movie I feel like was great for reactions. At least for me, personally. Um, because there's just so much to like. All in all, the film was very much the story of this one person's life working as a gangster. From his life growing up with an abusive father and just a family that just wasn't like the best at all, to working with Paulie and them because he felt like he had a place there. He felt respected and cared for. And so he just went through his life doing all these things, getting worse and worse to the point where it's like he just became so bad that he had to, in the end, take a plea deal. He had to go into witness protection and rat out the only friends he still had who were around. Everyone else had already died. He had to rat out the final friends he still had, the final allies he still had, even though at that point, like, he didn't necessarily trust them, because they were paranoid and they were kind of clearly on the edge of betraying him too. I mean, Karen was almost sent to her death by Jimmy, so that much was made very clear. But yeah, it's like everything was against them. So in the end, he had to take that deal, and based on the ending, he didn't like where he came out, but he was alive. He didn't like that he was living at like a schmuck, basically, like he said, but he was alive, and that's what mattered. He was alive. He was safe. Everything kind of worked out. Mostly, according to that thing, he apparently got in some trouble, but for the most part, it worked out. Um, and yeah, so as I said in the reaction, it's very clear that they're bad guys. Like all of these characters are pretty much bad guys, but this isn't the same kind of scenarios with Scarface where it's like, oh, they're just completely detestable. No, these characters were actually in some ways very likable. They were entertaining, they were enjoyable to watch. You kind of rooted for them at points, even though you know what they're doing is wrong and just terrible. But then there's also points that remind you that yes, these are bad guys. I mean, Ray Liotta's character was horrible in terms of his marriage to Karen. Like he cheated on her. He was abusive to her at times. He was controlling and manipulative, and it was really fucked up. And while it never like while he was never like abusive or bad to his children, in a way he kind of still became his father. He still kind of became an abusive shithole. And it's just I honestly feel it's like the line of work he went into, like becoming a gangster and everything, kind of like created the right atmosphere, the right mindsets for him to become like that. It's just this kind of cycle of abuse. And like he just he just kept going further and further down the rabbit hole. And by the time the end comes along, it's like, yeah, he has to go into witness protection. But prior to that, he had become extremely paranoid. He had become extremely shitty towards pretty much everyone and just not trusting anyone and just angry at everyone. And it's all because of this kind of world. And it's like it fucked him over, basically. And it's his fault completely, but still. And Jimmy goes from being honestly kind of level-headed, very level-headed early on, to being a complete paranoid, just angry loner almost. Like he kind of keeps away from his former associates and friends, especially after Tommy's death, and just is like constantly freaking out about everything. And Tommy was kind of the complete opposite. Tommy started out as a hot-headed, angry, just emotional guy, and he stayed that way through most of the time. But by the end, he was actually starting to mellow out a little bit, and he was actually starting to kind of gain some sense, not to a like major degree, but he was. So it's like it's almost kind of wild that he's the one who's killed out of our main characters. Everyone else goes crazy, and he is the one who started crazy. He actually is the one to start mellowing out, and he's the one who's killed. While the ones who go crazy, they survive. I mean, Paulie ended up dying in prison, according to what is said, but still. Um, and I don't know if, like, by this point, any of the others are dead. They might be. It's very possible, but yeah, it's just insane to think about. And then there were like the kind of more minor characters who were there for a bit, like the salesman guy. I cannot remember his name. But the kind of like guy who's like constantly telling Jimmy, "Where's my money? Give me my money. I want my money." And it's like he was annoying. Like the actor was doing a good job, but the character was like kind of just this annoying little shit heel. So it's like when he was killed, it's like, okay, I don't really mind if he's out of the movie now. And then there was the other guy who was kind of part of their crew for a while. The one who was killed by being put in the ice truck and everything. Um, he didn't really have much of a presence to me. Like, is that just me, or did he like just he was just kind of there? He wasn't like as annoying as the other guy or anything. He wasn't like anything wrong or any of that, but he was just he had no presence to him. And with him, I don't even know if it's the actor or if it was the character. I don't know if the character was supposed to have presence or not, but he did not. So I don't. The actor like didn't strike me as anything special compared to a lot of the others in the film. So maybe that's it as well. Um, and yeah, it's insane. And of course, like there's the other guy, like the one who they killed, who was shown at the beginning of the film in the back of the car. The guy who Tommy killed because he insulted him and was just really shitty. Honestly, like I think he was only in it like a couple of scenes. Um, was really not a notable character. It was like he was only brought in to explain the beginning scene, like who's the dude in the back of the car that they finish off. I kind of wish that he had actually more of a role in the film. Like when your film starts out like that and then goes back to explain everything, it's like, okay, who is this guy? Why is he back in the back there? And he just ends up kind of being a nobody. I mean, I won't say that because he was actually a big deal, but he had a big position and everything. But in terms of the film, in terms of his role in the movie, he was a nobody. He was literally there just to explain that scene, and he did not have much of any role in the movie prior to that, which is really disappointing because they could have made him a notable character. They could have made him have this big role throughout the entire film up to that point, but they just didn't. Um, there are also the families of these characters. You had Karen's parents, you had Tommy's mother, um, all of these families. You got to see Ray Liotta's character's brother. They were very minor and didn't really amount to much. I feel. There's also one of these girls that Ray Liotta's character was cheating with. I can't remember her name either, but she was the one who was like mixing the stuff into the cocaine. Um, these those kind of characters just really didn't have much of an impact on the film. Um, and there's not really much I can say about the story because it's just like there's all these different plot points throughout the film. There's just so many different like plot threads because it takes place over such a long period of time. I mean, I don't even remember half of it, much less have like notable thoughts on most of it. And again, I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying it's like there's just so much that happened. It was hard for me to keep track of everything. Like I could probably make these afterthoughts last for hours and still not be able to get to everything that was mentioned just because there was so much that was brought up in this film, so many plot points, so many threads. It's insane. um, if I had to say one thing that I liked above all else in this film, it would be the chemistry that the actors shared. Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, all of them had phenomenal on-screen chemistry. They worked so well off of each other in just pretty much every way. The way they bounced their lines off of each other just was really impressive. And it really made the movie in my eyes. It really helped make this movie enjoyable. Unlike Scarface, which, while yes, there were good actors in that, it just didn't feel enjoyable to watch. It just felt like the actors, while good, didn't really connect with each other. in the way that they have in other movies. And again, this is a great example of one of those other movies where the actors just really connect and just really work that well off of each other. If I had to say one thing that I really disliked about Goodfellas, it would definitely be the pacing, like without question. The jumping all around throughout these years, just kind of jumping from plot thread to plot thread with very little, um, really just explanation for it. And on top of that, a lot of the movie was told through Ray Liotta's character's perspective. He was like kind of narrating it. But then there was a lot of the movie where it wasn't, where it was just kind of like being shown. And then there was some parts of the movie that was told through Karen's perspective. And it's like the problem is there was no like set moments for it. It just kind of happened randomly and you just never knew what to expect at certain points. So it's just it kind of came across as a little disorganized. And that might have been the intention. That might have been the intention, but it does come across as disorganized, which you even if you're trying to make a movie where it feels disorganized, it has to feel natural in its disorganization, if that makes any sense at all. It has to feel like it fits and makes sense and doesn't feel like it's just a mess. But this honestly with that all with the pacing and everything, it felt like a disorganized mess. So if I were to give like an overall thoughts on this, I would say I liked this film. I thought it was very enjoyable. I thought the actors did a phenomenal job. They had excellent chemistry with each other, but it's not perfect. It has its issues, especially with the pacing. Too many story points to really keep track of. And in the end, it's good, but not great. I'm glad I finally saw it, and I appreciate the film, and it's definitely a well made film in a lot of respects, but it's not great. It could have been a lot better if it felt a lot more focused, honestly, and was shorter. There was no reason for it to be this long. There was no reason for it to be this long. The same story could have been told with the same kind of impact, same level of drama and everything in a lot less of time. And in the pre-thoughts, by the way, speaking of that, I talked about how I heard that this movie was comedic as well. And it had some comedic elements to it. Like there were a couple moments that were kind of funny, but overall, it's like, no, this was a very serious, dramatic movie. So it's like, I guess I heard wrong about that. Again, there are a couple moments, a couple scenes that had some humor in them, like the entire "Do I look like a clown?" scene and everything. Like, but overall, it was not in any way a comedic film. Um, but yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So thank you to Venom 0027 for donating. I appreciate it. And we will continue to get to our reactions and our movie reactions for the donation rewards as the weeks go on. Um, Normally, I wouldn't do this, but I will say what next week's will be because we've been doing like one, how we've been doing it lately. We've been doing one donation reward movie and then one holiday special movie every week lately. Um, Normally, I would just like keep it kind of a surprise, I guess you could say. But I'm going to tell you what next week's will be because next week is the week of Christmas for those who celebrate it. I personally do. But for those who celebrate, next week is Christmas week. And because of that, the donation reward movie we will be reacting to next week will be Jingle Jangle, which is a Netflix film that I had never heard about until it was requested of me. But Jingle Jangle is a donation reward for Matthew Vasquez, one of the probably longest lasting subscribers on the channel. So that will be next week, probably early in the week, just as we have been doing with these donation reward movie reactions. So, yeah, maybe Monday or Tuesday next week, expect a Jingle Jangle reaction. Um, but everything else will continue going as normal. This week we'll still get to the rest of our stuff that we can get to. We'll still get to the Satoshi Kon holiday special movie for this week, which is Paprika. Um, and next week we'll still get to all the stuff we need to get to then. Um, but yeah, tell me in the comments below what you thought of Goodfellas. Did you like it a little more than I did, or did you not like it as much as I did? What did you think of the acting, the directing, the pacing, all of that jazz? Let me know down in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.